Week 74 of reselling, and this week was an unexpected week, but that's part of the roller coaster. I'm going to be real frank this week. It was horrible, not because of reselling. It wasn't because I had bad sales or anything like that. It was because I had COVID. So what does that mean? What happened for the week? How did I progress? Well, that's what I want to take you through, and I want to share with you a couple of things to make sure. So if this ever happens to you, and I pray that it does not, that you would be a bit more prepared than I was. Let's dive into it. So, as I said, unfortunately, I came down with COVID, and I'm currently still in isolation. So, my voice is starting to come back. I'm feeling a bit better, and it's just been a big, long haul of fatigue, congestion, and I won't go into the details, but I'm pretty tired. I'm exhausted. Even now, I feel pretty tired, and this is day 6, I think it is, day 5, day 6. It's all a bit of a blur. Anyway, I'm not here to talk about that. I'm here to talk about what do you do if you find yourself in a similar situation where maybe you can't be operating fully on a day-to-day basis. Well, that's what I want to take you through. First up, I will share with you what has sold this week. We'll do top 3 items, 1 flop and 1 odd item, and then we're going to dive into how you can make sure you are in the best situation for if this happens to you. So top item number 1 for this week was this Dead Rising 2 Outbreak Edition. This was just a figurine actually. Now I picked this one up from my video game lot. This was back in October last year. It's been sitting around for a long time, so I paid $4.50 for this from an average cost of good perspective. Ended up getting around 400 items for that. Sold this for $70 and profited $41.51 after postage and fees. This did sit around for a while. I had it sitting at $100. I took an offer with postage, so not too bad. Top item number 2 with this SpongeBob DVD lot. Now, surprisingly, I picked these up for about 15 cents each from an op shop. They basically have one of those bundles where if you buy a whole amount, it was really, really cheap. I've had this one sitting around for quite a while. Like, I'm talking I probably purchased these last year even. So anyway, I paid a total of $2.30 for these, sold them for $49 with a profit of $25.33 after fees and postage. Top item number 3 were these good old trolls back from the 90s, I think it is, or probably even earlier, probably the 80s. This was just a bulk lot. I paid $1 for these ones, sold them for $40 after fees and postage. I've profited $24. Not too bad. In terms of a flop item for this week, it was this WWE Mattel figurine. Now, I've paid way too much for this. I got this from a bulk lot and I had no idea how much this was worth or anything like that. It had been sitting around for $29. Someone offered me $18. I took it, so I didn't really make much profit on it. If I was buying these, I'm probably only going to want it to be spending $1 to $2 per item max, because they don't go high. If they're boxed, they will go a lot better. And this is a new area for me, WWE wrestling and all that jazz. But hey, still, I've got a few others which I've got a bit lower buy into, so hopefully I'll make a few dollars on those. Now the odd item for this week was this Fireballs t-shirt, which I actually picked up a couple of weeks back in one of my videos. Now I paid $9.17 for this one, and I've sold it for $40, just shy of 40 bucks, and profited $16.28. The reason why it's a bit odd is because I had known nothing about it, but it actually moved pretty quick in terms of a t-shirt of my average cycle time. So pretty happy with this. It's only sat around for about 14 days, so there was a big surprise there. So this week, how did we do overall? Well, we've done 36 sales, which is about average. ASP $24.50, which is below average, and margin has been 47.65%, which is probably one of my lowest margin weeks ever. Cost of goods $106, revenue $882, which surprisingly isn't too bad considering all circumstances. Profit $420. So average cycle time was 34 days, which is very, very low. And here's all the items that have been selling. A lot of video games, DVDs. Books was probably lower this week in terms of profit, but revenue, it still brought in a fair bit. So before we continue, let me talk to you about what happened this week. So as soon as I tested positive, I put the store into time away. Now, when you are doing time away, there's a couple of things you need to take into mind. You can either stop sales or you can continue sales, which means it will just push out and delay your handling time on those items. Now for me, I had to put about 7 days because I have to be in isolation for 7 days. However, I put a buffer on that because I knew that, well, come the day coming out of this, I don't want to be rushing to get all my postage done. So I did put a bit of a buffer there. I gave myself an extra day, which means I then have 3-day handling on top of this. So a lot of these items, I've got about 3 to 4 days of buffer on before I have to send them. So I ticked the box to make sure that I am still getting sales. The other thing you need to consider is when you send out offers during this time, unfortunately, it doesn't take into account the additional time away time. It actually takes only account into your handling time. So if you intend to be sending offers while you're on time away, make sure you update your handling time too, or wait until later into the week or into that time away that you actually start sending those offers out. If you have any offers in advance of you actually setting up this time away, they will not also have the time away exception. So a couple of things there just to be mindful of. You can check out the link below and go see all the details there. Of course, eBay's got this all detailed out for you. The other thing that I did was also set up a automatic responder, meaning basically thank you for your message. Unfortunately, we are not operating for the next X amount of days due to unforeseen circumstances. We will do our best to get back to you as soon as possible. And that just helps keep the, all these people at bay just while you try and get your things together. And there was days there which I did not want to do anything, and it was just too hard to do anything. And that's why you need to be thinking in the back of your mind, if something happens, I'm not talking about COVID necessarily, if something happens where you do need to step away, having these things in play make a huge difference. Now, the big one for me that really, I guess, hit me by surprise and I wasn't ready for was having my draft bank ready. Now, usually I do a lot of my drafting or my, batching of items in advance is on a Monday. Unfortunately, Monday didn't work out for me. I wasn't able to do it just because of some circumstances, and then I got hit with it on Tuesday. So I only had a small draft bank of about 2 days worth, and over this week I haven't really been listing. I think I've listed about 2 days worth across the last 5, 6, 7 days. However, I was doing relists. Any energy that I had, I put it into making sure that I'm still doing relists, and I got a couple of sales from those relists, nothing too fancy, but I wanted to make sure there was still some movement in the store. And I guess this starts to reflect while there is a lot of sales down. I think it's probably because, people knowing that they're not going to get an item potentially sent out for another 7 to 10 days probably just starts to deter people. Now, I will show up on screen what this week has looked like in terms of progress, because interestingly enough, as you can see here, the start of the week was not too bad because I hadn't put the store into time away. As soon as I put the store into time away, boom, it dropped off right off. Now, whether this is coincidence or whether there's other things happening in the world, there's a lot of things happening in the world at this point. This week we also had RBA announce the new interest rates, so that would have kind of put people a bit at bay and a bit back in terms of, do they want to be spending? But as you can see, that roller coaster formation, and by Sunday I finally got a bit more sales back into the store, $230 worth. So it has been a roller coaster for a week, but look, to be honest, I've been absolutely wrecked and smashed, and I'm still pretty tired, so gonna just take it slow and ease back into it. One thing that I actually forgot to mention was once I put the store into time away, what I was able to do is fortunately I had all the items that were already sold in between the Monday and me going into lockdown or going into isolation. So those items I was able to have someone actually take to the post office for me and do that for me. In other circumstances, you might have to seek an exception from eBay. So just something to take into consideration if you don't have someone that can help you. So other than that, that's really how my week has gone. I don't really have much else to share with you. It's been a grind of a week, and I think it's still going to take me a little bit just to get back into a grind of, getting back into a routine. And so my two big lessons from all this, and my encouragement to you, is this: draft banks win. And what I mean by that, having batched items ready to go, ready to list, is always going to work in your favor for a rainy day. However, the other thing to also keep in mind is don't overdo yourself. You need to look after yourself. And for me, look, I had enough stock to be able to list, I had enough stock to be able to take photos, but really I did not have the energy to do it, and it's still a bit of a struggle just to get into that motion of, I guess, momentum. So you need to look after yourself, and your health comes first. So don't be too hard on yourself when these things pop up. As frustrating as it is, you got to ride it out and look after yourself. And I think this goes without saying. This applies to anything. When things pop up, I guess my learning from this week is you start to realize what's important and what works and what doesn't work when you're not in the business. And this isn't just for the business, this is for a whole bunch of different things as well. I had to cancel a lot of things, I had to change a lot of things, and I wasn't doing anything. And things still tend to tick over. And it's opened my eyes to a few things, which is good and bad, of course, but that's the reality of it. So unfortunately, I don't really have anything else for you. Hopefully this week will be a bit better. I should have a bit more energy. I'm still in isolation till about Wednesday, and then hopefully I'll be back out and at 'em. Yeah, I'm exhausted. All right, team, really do appreciate you being here. If you've got any questions, if I've missed anything, or if you want some clarifications, do let me know. Otherwise, you have a wonderful day. Cheers.